Hello, hello. So I'm going to do another music tier list today. I'm in the mood for it. So today we're actually going to be doing legendary. Uh, they're kind of hard to pin down in terms of genre, but I want to say progressive metal, heavy rock, metal. They used to be a bit grungy back in the day. Um, let's just go with metal. Legendary metal band from America, Los Angeles, Tool. They were formed in 1990. They had a different bassist, I believe, back in the day, Paul Diama, I think is how you say his name. But the current lineup is Maynard James Keenan as the lead singer, lyricist. And then you've got legendary drummer Danny Carey, and you've got Adam Jones on the guitar, and Justin Chancellor as the bassist. And this group is just a powerhouse of passion and talent. Um, a lot of sometimes Tool gets kind of pinned as this like hipstery kind of like band where it's like you listen, the people who listen to it kind of sit there thinking, philosophically about how this music was put together and how it makes them feel. But honest to God, they're just a good metal band. I'm not gonna go deep into their writing process and the stuff about Lateralus being the Fibonacci sequence and all of that shit. I'm just talking about their music is good. It's really great music. I love listening to it. It's pretty like appealing to most people, even if you're not really into metal that much. So I'm just going to be talking about ranking their albums, including their live album Salival, and I'm going to just rank them and talk a bit about them and how I feel about them and why I put them as their rank. So feel free to comment if you disagree with my rankings or if you have a different opinion. Always welcome discussion about this kind of stuff because obviously I'm just this is just my opinion. It's one person's opinion. And again, I have no authority on this. I love Tool. I've been listening to them since I was like 13. So I've been listening to them for a long time. They really sort of hooked me into the metal scene, and I love pretty much all their music. So I thought I'd just do a video about ranking their albums and talking about them. So without further ado, let's get started. So with kicking it off at, we're going to be doing this in release order as well, like when the records were released. So kicking it off to begin with, their EP, Opiate. So Opiate was an EP that they did. It's got 4 recorded studio songs on it, and then it's got 2 live songs. It was made in 1992. And Opiate is a very kind of classic 90s grunge hard rock album. Like it's they definitely haven't. Tool kind of went through a transformation about halfway through their album cycle where they decided to sort of change genre pretty much. So they started off, in my opinion, as pretty much just a hard rock grunge band. And you've got those. It's got that kind of like sort of, what's the word? It's not a super like clean production. It's quite the recording's quite rough around the edges, but it has that charm of like it's quite angsty and loud and just good fun. Pretty much every song on this album's good. I really enjoy it. Sweat, Hush is great. Hush was, I think, their first video clip. Hush is a great little song. It's all, they're all just very angsty kind of like grunge 90s songs, but they're all great. They're all great songs. Um, Keeping in mind comparing again to all their other albums, I do like this album. I still listen to some of the songs from this album time to time, and the live recordings are really great. They're really raw. They were young and just wanted to fucking have fun on stage, so they're really just passion fueled songs like Cold and Ugly and Jerk Off, and they've got some little funny tidbits at the start of them as well in the recording of Maynard sort of just saying random shit. But yeah, keeping in mind comparing to the other records, I'm gonna probably put Opiate at a B tier. I think that's fair enough. They're still finding their sound. Um, it is very much just a kind of 90s grunge hard rock record with I mean every song on it's good. I like all the songs on it, but they do definitely evolve a lot more over time. So up next we have Undertow, which was released the year after in 1993. And again, Undertow is still very much a early 90s grunge hard rock record. Again, it's got that very rough around the edges, angsty feel to the whole record. It's got some very dark themes and very angsty, dark, angry themes in this album. There's like songs like Prison Sex, which is, it's very heavy, lyrically themed. Sober, about, just drugs and alcohol, basically, and like the effects of, you know, people always wanting more drugs and alcohol and addiction and stuff. So, again, another pretty heavy record, single. One of their probably most well-known singles as well, Sober. Two of some of the coolest video clips as well. You can't talk about Tool without mentioning their video clips. The music video for Prison Sex and Sober are awesome. They're still one of my probably favorites. I wish they were kind of available in a more high quality, like, video, because they are really cool. They're just stop animation, like claymation and puppets and stuff. It's awesome. It's really well done, really creepy, really fits the vibe of the songs. Especially like, I mean, both of them, but Prison Sex is super creepy. Like it's very like artistic, like creepy stop motion. It's great. Crawl Away, and Swamp Song, great songs as well. Undertow, the title track, great song. Bottom has a feature from Henry Rollins, legendary punk rocker from Black Flag. 4 Degrees is a really cool little sort of probably not as well known song amongst the album that I really like. It's probably one of my favorite songs actually. 4 Degrees, a very sort of melancholy, like chiller sort of track. And then Disgustipated is this really bizarre comedic, like it's like this got this it's like a 15-minute song, and it's got this startup that's very like a comedy kind of just piss take on religion. It's like Maynard like preaching to a flock of sheep about carrots being eaten. And it's supposed to just be a piss take, I guess, on religion in general, mainly Christianity. And then it just goes into this really bizarre, just like chugging, repetitive, just this is necessary, and it's just weird as. And then the ending is also extremely creepy. It's got this like weird recording of like some dude saying that he basically killed someone. It's so weird. It's such a weird ending to an album, but it's very like, it's not a song you'd listen to on its own, but if you're listening to the whole album together, it's like a part of that experience, and it kind of wraps up the album a bit. But overall, Undertow, it's got some great songs on it. It's very much a product of its era. I feel like, it's not really, it's definitely aged more than their other records. Like you listen to it and you're like, oh, this is a 90s record. Like, it's got that vibe to it. And they still hadn't kind of, I feel like, broken out into their own sound yet. So, considering all of that, I think for now, and I always do this, but for now, I'm going to put, I'm going to try and do this earlier. I think, even though I do love Opiate, comparing it to everything else, I think it's fair to put it at a C tier. I really do. Undertow, I comfortably would put it a B for sure. I was almost going to put it at an A, but again, some of the other records here are just so much better. So we'll put it at a B and a C for now. Again, I might change it up at the end, but I feel pretty comfortable with that. So moving on. Ænima. And again, it's a weird name to pronounce. There was like a radio interview with Adam Jones who said that it was pronounced Ænima or something. So let's just go with that. 1996 it was released, and this is where they finally start to kind of try and go in their own direction with their own kind of sound. Um, it, it's still pretty. This is also when they got the. This is when they started being the current lineup of members. So it's from Ænima onwards is the current Tool members that you know today. So Justin Chancellor got brought on. And it's a great record. I mean, pretty much every single song on this album is fantastic. It's got a bit of comedy in there as well. I mean, come on. Stinkfist is a great single, awesome, creepy, again, music video that they become known for, with that style of music video. Stinkfist is awesome. Eulogy, H. I'm not, kind of one of the only songs actually that I'm not too much of a fan of, and not a fan of, but just it's kind of a nothing song on this album is Useful Idiot. It's just kind of an interlude song. 46 and 2. Message to Harry Manback's a really funny, just comedic track where just this dude just was leaving threatening messages on Maynard's answering machine, and they just decided to, from like Spain or something, and he's like swearing at him in Spanish and telling him he's gonna die of cancer. It's so bizarre, but that's funny as that track. Hooker with a Penis is actually probably one of my favorite songs on this whole record. It's one of their, because Tool starts to go down more of a chill sort of metal vibe more down the track, and they stop going for that really heavy, angsty, grunge sort of / metal sound. But Hooker with a Penis is I'd say one of their best heavier tracks. I love it. It's so good. It's just full of just like fuck off energy, like, because it's basically Maynard just being like, fuck everyone who says we sell out, because that's just the music industry. Like, we got to make money too, we're not fucking working for free here. We still make good music, so it's great. I love the energy in it. It's really heavy banger track. Love it. Intermission, literally just an intermission song, but it's fun when they play it live because it's like a little interlude. It goes straight into Jimmy, and Jimmy is a very creepy, sort of slow burn, like heavy track, but it's got some really dark themes in it. Die von Satan is such a funny track, another comedy track where everyone thought that they were basically like Tool was like neo-Nazis, but it's literally because it's a guy, like it sounds kind of like a Nazi address like seminar thing, but it's literally just a recipe for pot cookies, like in German, but the way it sounds like some kind of Nazi rally. So it was pretty funny. It's a pretty funny track. I actually really like the industrial instrumental in that song as well. It's actually really cool. It's just this really heavy, just like sounding industrial song. Push It, another great song. The title track, Ænima, however you want to pronounce it, is awesome. Another awesome sort of heavy, angsty track. It really, it talks about stuff like just Maynard hating like the sort of shallowness of Los Angeles where he lives, and just like wanting to just get rid of it, but it's got that really angsty, heavy vibe to it that I love. And the Third Eye is an awesome long finisher where it's just great the whole way through. That whole song is just awesome. So considering all that, I think I'm gonna have to put Ænima at an S tier, to be honest. I mean, pretty much every song on there that's not like a comedic or interlude kind of song is great. Like they're just like top tier songs. Some of Tool's best work. So, and the good thing, excuse me, the thing about this album as well is this was probably their last album where they were like heavy. They really toned down their heaviness and their angstiness in the coming up albums. So I really appreciate this album for that. So I'm gonna probably I reckon an S tier is very suitable for this album. So moving on, next would be Salival, which was a live record that was done in 2000. So the year just before Lateralus was released, and you know it's pretty much just live songs like through the whole thing, except for a couple of studio songs. But for me, like I mean, pretty much all the live songs are great and they sound great and they're great renditions. But for me, what makes this album is the inclusion of the Led Zeppelin song No Quarter cover that they did. And, obviously Led Zeppelin is a legendary, absolute, just prolific status, god tier, 60s rock band that started it all. And the original is fantastic, but someone who's, I was born in the 90s and bit it was a bit before my time. I still listen to Led Zeppelin, but, as a modern rendition of No Quarter, it's amazing. And people hate me for saying this, but I personally prefer Tool's cover of No Quarter than the original Led Zeppelin No Quarter. That's just my opinion, and plenty of people would disagree with me, but I love how heavy it is, and the modern take on it is just great. That song alone for me makes this record. Oh, I want to say an A tier, but I don't think I can fairly say that. So I'm going to put it at B tier. But in my heart, I want to put it at A tier, but I feel like that's not fair compared to some of the other records. So just for one song, really. I mean, the live renditions again are great, but that No Quarter cover, that's what makes the album for sure. So next up, the one and only 2001 record, Lateralus. The one that is most famous for sure out of all of Tool's discography, this is the album. Like if you're trying to get someone into Tool, you tell them to listen to this album. Lateralus, and again, I'm not going to go into it, but there's the whole thing about it's based off the Fibonacci sequence and there's so much maths involved in the time signatures and all of that. Yes, that's amazing and it's cool, but we're not going to go into that about it. We're just talking about how it sounds and the songs and all of that. So this is where they officially were like, we know what we want to do now. This is our sound. This is our unique kind of spin on the genre. And it's it's like a progressive, modern sort of experimental metal sound. And it's an absolute just top tier record all the way through. I mean, every song on here again that's not a interlude kind of filler song to set the mood is an excellent song. I mean, the opener, The Grudge, is amazing. And not just in the instrumentals, but the lyric content, like the actual themes of these songs, is really quite poetic and deep. If you look into the meaning of a lot of these songs, but The Grudge, The Patient, Schism is again one of their most well-known songs for a good reason. Schism is an excellent song. Amazing bass lines. Justin Chancellor really shines through in this song. Parable and Parabola are incredible as well. They're like this, if you listen to them together, there's big epic sort of song of I think the music video has both of them together, so it's a really great experience. It's like this slow build up of this really sort of chill, slow build, and then it's like just a classic heavy metal song. And the themes are, it's quite a beautiful lyrically themed song. It's about, just basically living life to the fullest and enjoying life. That's like the whole point of the song, which is, I think, great. Um, and then Ticks and Leeches. Ticks and Leeches is just, again, it's such a heavy hitting like classic metal song. It's got some incredible drums on it. Like Danny Carey really goes hard with these drums on Ticks and Leeches. So again, fantastic, top tier song. Lateralus title track, very good song. Kind of a slow build, and then it has this big climax at the end. Um, Reflection, another great song. Disposition, also great. Triad is actually, which is nearly the closer, is one of my favorite as well, because it's just the whole song is just this build. Like it's just this slow build of like these like chugging guitar riffs and drums, and then it just like goes off in the middle to the end and just gets louder and louder and louder, and it's just so awesome. I love it. It's such a great heavy song. And then the closer is like this really creepy, um, like it's that thing that it was like that guy who apparently called a radio station at like I don't know 2 in the morning or something, and like reported that there was aliens. He figured out that there's aliens and they're here and they're like everywhere and they're watching us and all that shit. And it's like and then the call cuts off or whatever, and it was recorded on a radio station. But I mean, it's more just there for like flavor for the record, but it's cool, I guess. But yeah, oh, I mean, come on, Lateralis is an easy S tier. I mean, it's some of their best work for sure. I mean, the whole album, every front to back. There's only two, no, three songs out of the 13 that are kind of like just interlude mood setting songs. The other 10 tracks are all just incredible. They're all top tier songs in the Tool catalog. So absolutely no questions asked. An S tier album. So next we have 10,000 Days, which was released in 2006. So a 5-year hiatus, a little bit of a lengthy sort of wait, although there was a 5-year hiatus between Ænima and Lateralus. And 10,000 Days, I think it's kind of considered as not is where Tool started to sort of go downhill, but I actually really enjoy 10,000 Days. I think it was a great mix of everything that they'd done so far. You know, I think it had it had a couple of really heavy hitting like metal songs, and then it also had a lot of really just chill, sort of slow burn, build up songs with some storytelling elements as well. I think overall it's a great record. You know, Vicarious, great song. Jambi, incredible song. Wings for Marie, part one and two, part two being called the title track, 10,000 Days. One of my favorite Tool songs. It's such a beautiful song, especially the title track, 10,000 Days, about Maynard's mother dying and how he dealt with that, and he wrote a song about it and her passing and stuff. But apart from that, it's just such a good sounding song. Like it's got a really chill, slow build to it, and then at the end it just goes really heavy. They like to do that a lot, and it's great. I love it. The Pot, probably in my top three favorite singles of Tool songs ever. I love that song so much. It's just got such a tight, heavy groove. It's so great. It's so hard hitting. Everything sounds great. The guitar, the drums, the bass, the singing, it's all top tier. I love that song. It's probably, it's the best song on the record for sure, but it's in my top three favorite Tool songs of all time for sure. And you got a couple of little sort of mood setting songs as well, like Lip and Conjuring, Lost Keys, Blame Hoffman. Rosetta Stone, another awesome song. It's literally just about having a really bad trip, but the song itself is just awesome. It's got some great riffs, and it's just a long sort of heavy again sounding song. I think it's great. Intention, Really chill, really just nice, chill vibe song. Right into as well. Another just really nice chill song from Tool, which I like. There's like three or four songs on this record that are just a lot more chill sounding, and just you just kind of sit and just enjoy. And then it also has quite a handful of just heavy hitting metal songs. Um, so yeah, I think honestly, 10,000 Days is definitely an A tier for me. It's not quite for sure on Ænima or Lateralis's level, but it's definitely a great record for sure. Now we come to the final record that they've released so far, which was released in 2019, Fear Inoculum. Now, Fear Inoculum, I think, was quite, it was a little bit divisive amongst the Tool fans. But I think, honestly, the general consensus is that it just was not, it didn't live up to that such long wait that it took to get this album. It was a 13-year hiatus from 10,000 Days to Fear Inoculum. And obviously, the legendary status of this band and the rabid dedication of the fan base had built up this just insurmountable amount of pressure and standards that they had to meet. And I understand that, and that's hard to meet. That's hard to please everyone, because it was such a long time in between albums. Like people were expecting this magnum opus sort of thing that beat even out Lateralus and Ænima, but what we got was a pretty average record, in my opinion. I'm just gonna say it straight out. I'm not really a fan of this record that much. It's got maybe 3 or 4 songs that I'll actually listen to, but honestly, it kind of all bleeds into one, and it just doesn't really. None of it kind of stands out too strongly to me. I will say, Numa, Invincible, and Chocolate Chip Trip are 3 very good Tool tracks. Like, they can stand on their own against their previous catalogs of tracks. I think they're very good for sure. But everything else just kind of just bleeds into one for me. Like, I can't even I've listened to this record quite a few times front to back, and I, honest to God, can't even remember what half these songs even sound like. Like, whereas I look through the other album's track lists, and I'm like, I know exactly what that sounds like. That know what it all sounds like off just by looking at the name of the song. With this, it's just, for me, like, I'm just like, it's so forgettable, and it all just sounds too much of the same thing. Like, with these other records that I've got on the tier list already, there's quite a lot of variation in sound in each record. Now, all the songs are very distinct. You can recognize them straight away. If you chucked on, I don't know, let's say Descending or Tempest, I probably honestly wouldn't be able to tell you which one it was. If you told me Tempest was Descending and Descending was Tempest, I would believe you. You know what I mean? Like, but yes, Numa, Invincible, and Chocolate Chip Trip are great. I mean, Chocolate Chip Trip's just Danny Carey having a big bash drum solo, but it's sick. Invincible is a genuinely great track, and Numa is a great track, but I feel like they tried too hard with Fear Inoculum to overall kind of replicate almost a Lateralis 2. That's at least how I feel. I feel like they tried to be like, let's do a Lateralis 2, guys. But better, but it just did not land, in my opinion. So all that in mind, I think I'm going to have to put Fear Inoculum at a... I'm going to do it. I'm going to put it at a C tier, to be honest. I think that, yes, I would listen to Undertow in full over listening to Fear Inoculum by far, actually, now that I put it there. It was just a bit underwhelming. And, I hope they continue to make music overall, but they really need to kind of just maybe change it up a bit in terms of, Tool has a very lengthy and difficult recording process because all the individual members record their parts and write their parts individually, and then once they've all kind of all the you know Adam, Danny, and Justin have all written their parts and ready to go, and they collaborate to make it fit together. Then Maynard steps in and listens to it and then writes lyrics for it. I feel like maybe they need to just be more together and collaborative through the whole process so it doesn't sound like a disjointed kind of mashing of ideas. It's more of like everyone's coming up with it together at the same time. I don't know. I'm just sort of theorizing here, but I feel like maybe that would make for a more better sounding record if they choose to release any more music in the future, which I hope they do. But there you go, guys. I'm pretty happy with that ranking now looking at it. If you've never listened to Tool, absolutely, and you're a fan of metal, heavy rock sound, then absolutely do yourself a favor and listen to these two S-tier records. Absolutely. Lateralus, Ænima. Probably start with Lateralus if you like it, then move on to Ænima. 100%. It's great listens all the way through. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in. And I may do. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to do another tier list video next, or I might actually do something relating to just talking about games, like my own kind of review game discussion series. So yeah, but I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. Please comment. Please subscribe. I'm trying to release videos decently frequently, so there will be more content for sure. Drop a like, if you liked it. Share it around if you feel like someone else might enjoy this. So yeah, thanks again for watching, guys, and hope you have a great day. See ya.